Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Got your questions regarding this week's Raw and other topics, so let's get started with the first one, which comes from Jeremiah Dorset. Do you see Stephanie McMahon turning on Mick Foley and Seth Rollins at Clash of Champions, and do you see the Authority reforming? It was interesting on Raw this week because there was no Triple H, no explanation as to why he helped Kevin Owens. We did have Seth Rollins coming out at the start of Raw and bringing up how Kevin Owens was the Triple H handpicked guy since day one in NXT. But beyond that, we still don't know from Triple H directly what his motivations were for why he cost Seth Rollins the WWE title. It looks like we will probably not know until the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. WWE is going to drag this thing out. Perhaps we'll see Triple H on Raw next week, but at this point it's looking like the build-up is going to be, is Triple H in cahoots with Stephanie? Is Stephanie being sincere when she says that she knew nothing about the Triple H attack? That's the storyline here, and my guess is for the next several weeks, WWE will be continuing to tease if Stephanie was really in on it with Triple H the entire time. Honestly, I'm tired of the Authority gimmick. I think it's played out, and if Stephanie just turns heel again and joins up with Triple H, not really a big fan of that personally. It just doesn't sound very entertaining, and I can only imagine sitting through another 6 months to a year of the Authority, another WrestleMania with Triple H and Stephanie as the Authority figures. I'd like to see something different, so if anything, I would like to see Triple H and Stephanie maybe feud with each other. I'm not sure if they're going to do that as husband and wife. It's really interesting to see how WWE will proceed with this angle. Will Triple H and Stephanie actually do an on-screen breakup, or will they just go back to doing the same old tired Authority figure angle? That is going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. Got this one here from @HeadKick14. Are Gallows and Anderson getting boring? They are very, very talented, but it seems like their segments on Raw have been lackluster. I'm not sure if you sent this question before this week's Raw, but a lot of people did not like that Raw segment. It's WWE's way of trying to add character development to Anderson and Gallows because, yes, they're a great tag team. They did very well in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we all know how Vince is. He has to make sports entertainers out of the wrestlers, and that's what WWE is trying to do with Gallows and Anderson. Unfortunately, that old days segment with Anderson and Gallows bringing out the guys dressed up like the New Day but as old men with walkers, the whole thing pretty much fell flat. It was almost universally hated online. All these tweets I was getting from people, most seemed to hate that segment, and I have to say it was quite lame. So it's not really doing Gallows and Anderson any favors. You know, they did the stuff with the doctor outfits, and that first segment was somewhat funny, I thought. I didn't think it was great or anything, but some people liked it. And the last few segments just haven't been working out. So at this point, it's definitely doing them more harm than good, and really it's going to be hard for people to take these guys seriously if WWE keeps producing segments like the one they did this week. And speaking of that segment from Interstate Kyle, hey Aaron, is it me or is the New Day crowd reactions not as loud as they used to be and almost starting to get boos again? Segments like this week, like with Anderson and Gallows, it's going to not help the New Day. It's not going to do them any favors. It's been several weeks since the New Day have been in a really entertaining segment, and I'm not sure what's going on here. But yeah, it does seem like the New Day is significantly cooling off. And really this whole feud, it's gotten to the point now where I really do not have much emotional investment in this tag team match and the tag team titles. I'm just losing interest with each passing week. So they really need a strong angle to get people back into the storyline. Otherwise, WWE is going to be in danger of making fans not care about either tag team. And when that happens, nobody's going to care about the tag team titles. And really, it should be the opposite. With New Day close to breaking Demolition's record now, you would think that there would be even more interest and people more into the storylines with the New Day. And that's not the case right now. It just feels flat. And I'm really hopeful that WWE will turn things around before the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. Alright, got this one here from Gene Q. What do you think of Cody Rhodes reportedly heading to the hashtag Dead Brand Impact? Please don't say anything about money issues. Oh, there's so many money issues, but I will not get into that. Regarding Cody Rhodes possibly going to TNA, I am not surprised. Cody Rhodes would be a good fit for TNA. There are a lot of guys he can work with in TNA. I'm looking at the positives of this. It's great for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes will be able to get some television exposure, and apparently he's not going to be under a contract, so he'll be able to continue doing whatever indies he wants to do. Plus, he's getting national TV exposure. It's a win-win for Cody, and it might help TNA a little bit. Once again, I'm going to try to be positive. Maybe Cody Rhodes showing up in TNA will create some more buzz and interest in the TNA product. I'm not going to completely rule it out. I do think it's a positive. If TNA does have the money, I'm mentioning money real quick here, if TNA does have the money to pay for Cody Rhodes, I would definitely get him there in the company. And he's getting his own terms. It works out for him very well. So, to me, it makes sense for them to work together. Got this one here from Wrestling Addict 93. Is there any superstars that you really didn't appreciate as a youngster, but when you grew in maturity, you started loving them? I'd have to say Bret Hart. I did like Bret Hart as a kid when he was part of the Hart Foundation, but then when he broke off on his own and won the WWF title, there was something about the way he did his promos. To me, as a kid, he came off very arrogant, talking about how great he was and being the best. And looking back, Bret was just very confident. But as a kid, it just came off to me like he had an inflated ego and he was just too much into himself, too full of himself. And that's how I felt as a kid. I mean, as I was older, I really got into Bret, especially when he started feuding with Austin. I was really into that stuff. So yeah, I did kind of have my phase where I wasn't really a big Bret Hart fan as a kid. And then I grew back into him into my teenage years when he was feuding with Austin. Got this one here from Sohail. Did you ever think TNA could be WWE's competition, and when did you think TNA slowly started to die? I felt TNA had a chance around 2006 when they signed Kurt Angle, and Angle and Joe had their first big pay-per-view match. That is when it really felt like TNA was starting to gain some serious momentum as a possible alternative to WWE and being able to compete with WWE on a business level. TNA was really starting to gain some solid ground, but unfortunately, by like 2007, a year later, it was clear they were only going to reach a certain level, and they did continue to slowly grow, but the ratings never really increased much. They stayed pretty much at the same level. I think TNA probably had their best year financially in 2009. They were running several pay-per-views in larger arenas and drawing respectable crowds, 4,000 or 5,000 people. They were getting almost 2 million viewers a week on Spike TV. Things were going fairly well for TNA, but by 2009, a lot of people thought when Hogan and Bischoff came in that was going to turn TNA around, but after that first week, that first Monday night, I knew TNA did not have a solid direction to be able to compete with WWE. I was hoping that when Hogan and Bischoff came in, maybe they had some fresh ideas on the table, and as it turned out, they had no fresh ideas. It was just going back to the same old thing, the same concepts that did not work over a decade earlier in WCW. They were just repeating the same thing again, and TNA never really got to the level that they were at before Hogan and Bischoff came in. It was just a steady decline after Hogan and Bischoff arrived in TNA. This one comes from Daniel Lynch. If AJ wins at Backlash, should Samoa Joe confront him after the match and declare himself his next challenger? I would like to see it. I would like to see Samoa Joe on the main roster as soon as possible. As I've talked about in several videos, I'm not expecting it to happen though, because I think that Dean Ambrose will continue to feud with AJ regardless of who wins at Backlash. I'm guessing AJ and Ambrose will probably have a Hell in a Cell match in October or whatever the next pay-per-view is. No Mercy. I think Hell in a Cell is the Raw brand. I'm getting confused here already with these brand split pay-per-views, but I expect them to have a rematch at the October pay-per-view, and I think that AJ will also end up feuding with John Cena again for the WWE Championship, perhaps at Survivor Series. I could see that happening. So I think Samoa Joe fans might have to wait a bit longer. I'm thinking that Joe will get his rematch with Nakamura possibly at the Toronto TakeOver event the night before Survivor Series, and then after that we will see Samoa Joe debut on the main roster. And yeah, I would love to see AJ versus Joe on the main roster. That would be awesome. Got another one here from Gene Q. Why do you think real Mick Foley decided not to delete his accidental promotion of TNA's upcoming #DeleteOrDecay? I think Mick Foley just doesn't give a damn. I think that he knows that WWE is not going to be petty enough to punish him for tweeting out a graphic that promotes TNA. Going back to earlier, why would WWE even be upset? TNA is so far off the radar at this point. It's not going to make that much of a difference whether Foley promotes TNA or not. It's not like Foley promoting TNA is going to draw in hundreds of thousands of people all of a sudden to TNA. I think that if WWE did punish him, it would be really silly. It's pointless right now. I mean, if this was 2009 or 2010 and somebody in WWE was promoting TNA, then yeah, that would be a big deal. But here in 2016, does anybody really care if Foley's promoting TNA at this point? I mean, to me, it's not even that big of a deal. If TNA was a major factor, then yeah, I would say it's not good for WWE business. But I do not see how doing this is going to hurt WWE's business whatsoever. I think that there's pretty much nothing that's going to be done that can hurt WWE's business in terms of promoting TNA and stuff like that. Got this one here. I already forgot. He said, I think his name was I'm Sark, something like that. That's how you pronounce it. What's the point of WWE cutting the first names of the superstars like Adrian Neville and Antonio Cesaro? It's just a marketing thing, and wrestling companies have been doing this for a very long time. WCW did it with Goldberg. They dropped the bill and just made him Goldberg, and all the t-shirts said Goldberg. I mean, it's more marketable than a t-shirt that says Bill Goldberg. Just have it be Goldberg, you know? It's just a marketing thing, and that is what wrestling companies have been doing for a very long time. It's not just WWE. TNA did it too. WWE likes to try and keep things as simple as possible. So if you can simplify a name, then that's what they're going to do. I'm surprised they haven't done it with Nakamura yet. They're still calling him Shinsuke Nakamura. When he's on the main roster, would not surprise me if he ends up just being Nakamura, and I could see people complaining. But at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. Got this one here from Paul Bessman. What happened to the 1999 Survivor Series three-way match with Triple H, The Rock, and Austin? Who would you have had win the match and why? Austin got hurt. Austin needed his neck surgery and he had to bow out of that match, and they did the whole angle where Austin got run over with the car so they could write him off of television. I think that the original plan was for Triple H to retain, and that's what I would have done. The titles had been flip-flopping a lot around that period, and Triple H had just won back the world title, so I would have kept it on him. I think that the reason WWE went with Big Show as the champion is because he was a substitute for Austin, and because of that, WWE decided to book the match to have Show win, so that way the fans feel like they got a good payoff despite Austin being hurt, and the fans are sent home happy. Don't ask me why they picked Show over The Rock. I guess they just wanted to have the surprise entrant win the match and win the title, just so people could say, hey, we got something totally unexpected happening at this pay-per-view. But yeah, if I had booked that match, I would have gone with Triple H to retain and had him keep the title until WrestleMania 16. That'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please share it with a friend on Facebook and Twitter. Now, I know a lot of you out there are trying to send me questions, and apparently I've been ignoring some people. I try not to. I try not to answer a lot of questions from the same people, and I also try to answer unique questions. So this is just a reminder, if you're going to send me a question, try to only send me 1 or 2 really good, unique questions. And if you want, if I've never answered one of your questions before and you really want me to answer one, use the hashtag PAIVONE for one. PAIV1. Use that hashtag and I will try to answer your question if you're a first-time asker or multiple-time asker, but I've never actually answered one of your questions. So this is your opportunity. Go for it on twitter.com/AaronRift. Use that hashtag. And on that note, I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A video.